they actually hit the water main. And if it wasn't for the water sewer people coming to that rescue and getting that water shut off, everything on Main Street would have been flooded out. So it's just the idea that the workers for the water and sewer, they came down there with their, they were notified, they came home.
Oh, was it the
It was Sunoco.
Excuse me, it was at the Sunoco.
It wasn't at the.
I had questions about that.
Excuse me, if they say Sunoco, I'm saying the gas station.
Yeah,
That's the gas station.
they were doing that work like in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
on
he
the
said,
weekend.
Terry said something to the effect, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was not a serious break.
No, I was told that they bent the thing over very bad.
Yeah, that it was just, it was an accident that happened during.
Well, they was using a backhoe and they weren't paying attention.
But
But
that's,
the water department got there and they actually bent the pipe back far enough that they could turn it
so
and shut it off.
that's a very common way that all kinds of pipelines are compromised as well. Not to keep coming back to this, but that's really common, just backhoes in the course of construction.
Especially if they're in people's backyards and, with the throughway, close the right of way is really your yard, could be an issue.
That had broken off and the whole Main Street plumbing was running wild.
It's not the first time, John.
Jack, some of the fellows that work for that.
I live in Tulsa, who cares?
That was his last
I'm on Main Street, so I have to get quite high.
Yeah, it would have to be really wide.
All right,
That's a
anyone
pretty
else?
fast.
Because we have a little, okay.
American Vickers are coming on, so.
Bob's got places.
So
Shows the lot.
what we have here is, well, before that, I would like to ask, I made a decision to ask Jen to be the liaison to the Pilgrim Pipeline project, and so as of today, she is appointed the Pilgrim Pipeline project liaison.
No problem.
So what we did was, we have a resolution, two things are happening, we're on two fronts. One is to have a letter that was drafted to have all the supervisors from the towns that are interested to sign a letter to request DEC to be the lead agency of the Pilgrim Pipeline rather than the Thruway. I think we all agree that the Thruway is not going to look after the interests of our residents. And I think the other thing is we feel that the Thruway has some, benefit to this. They're gonna benefit, and the towns would like to make sure that we're looked after. So
You need an independent.
So the
It would really, the throughway, it just isn't equipped to the way the EAC would be to address these issues.
So we already have quite a few towns that are very interested. I think I have 9 definite.
We're up to a dozen.
Yeah, I'm still getting emails every little while. Some of them are said yes, but they haven't gotten their approval yet, so they would like to get their board approval.
Right.
So we'll probably wait till the end of the week to try to get everybody on board that's going to do it. And in addition to that, we'd like to do a resolution denying consent to the New York State Thruway Authority to serve as lead agency in the secure review of the Pilgrim Pipeline project. So we have 2 documents and 1 resolution to cover both of those.
So,
I made a few modifications to include the authorization to sign the letter and to,
so we will make it a separate one.
I think it's easier to just do 1 resolution. So if everybody's on board, I will go ahead and read that resolution. 12/2015-1. Does anybody on the board have a question about this before we go forward? We're all pretty much sure up to speed on it.
One thing I wanted to add, we discussed about new owners have bought the Ruderman property, and that appears that property is a major look at for them for access for the pipeline. So I would make sure you pay them a visit so that they're updated, so that we're not going on assumption with those people.
Do you know who they are?
Are they moved in yet?
I think they're moved in. I think I've seen the cars go up and down the road. I think one's a black Mercedes. I'm not 100% sure.
All right, well, let's not speculate, let's find out.
But you're better off going down there.
I'm happy to drop in on.
Yeah, I think it would be
If that's
wise
proper, I don't know if it's-
Yeah, I think, it's fine.
Yeah.
to keep them informed of what's
They're
going
new
on.
people, they might not have been informed. A lot of the, residents do know about it because we had the resolution last year. So
That's a wrong thing though, to buy a house
Find
without
out.
knowing that.
Yeah, great. Okay, resolution denying consent to the New York State Thruway Authority to serve as lead agency in the secure review of the Pilgrim Pipeline project. Whereas in November 2014, the town of Rosendale unanimously passed a memorializing resolution proposing the proposed Pilgrim Pipeline, which if constructed would transport crude oil and refined petroleum products from Albany, New York and Lincoln, New Jersey. And whereas this project considers State Environmental Quality Review Act secret Type 1 action under 6 New York CRR Part 617, whereas the town of Rosendale is an involved agency in secret process, and therefore has voice in determining who's lead agency in the environmental review of this project. Whereas the town New York State Thruway authorities consider secret lead agency status for this project. Whereas this is a timely matter, it's replied to the New York State Thruway Authority by involved received must be received by December 16, 2015. Whereas the town of Rosendale has been joined by 20 other New York municipalities in passing resolutions in opposition to this project after concluding that the risks and costs to our communities far outweigh the potential benefits, and that the project contradicts local, regional, and state energy goals. And whereas the proposed pipeline threatens important resources of regional and statewide concern, including the Hudson River and major tributaries such as the Rhonda, Esopus, Catskill Creeks, and Westfield River, state-regulated wetlands, the Ramapo River watershed, and Forest Aquifer region, part of the project designated by New York State Industries Conservation Plan, and other resources that the DEC is responsible for protecting, and is best equipped to ensure a full and adequate evaluation of environmental impacts. And whereas the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation has statewide responsibility for mitigating climate change, is best positioned to lead an evaluation of this project's potential impact on climate. And whereas the DEC as a state environmental agency is best suited to guide the environmental review of this large multi-jurisdictional project that has the potential to impact environmental resources in 16 New York counties and 29 towns, and is the agency with power and expertise to ensure a comprehensive and coordinated review. Whereas the pipeline which will traverse and impact private lands and resources outside of the Thruway right-of-way into the lands within the town of Rosendale, and is therefore more appropriate to the DEC than the Thruway authority to play the lead role in evaluating the impacts of those lands and resources. Now therefore be resolved, the town board of the town of Rosendale does not consent to the New York Thruway authority to serve as lead agency in secret review of the proposed Pilgrim Pipeline project, which requests to Commissioner Basil Regent of the New York State DEC serve as lead agency. Be further resolved, the town board of the town of Rosendale authorizes the supervisor to sign letter which is attached here to the part hereof, to sign letter jointly with other supervisors requesting that the New York State DEC be the lead agency. And be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Rosendale directs the town clerk to forward copies of this resolution to New York State Thruway Authority Chair Joan Mahoney, New York State DOT Commissioner Matthew Driscoll, U.S. Senators Charles Schumer, Kristen Gillibrand, and U.S. Representatives Chris Gibson, Governor Andrew Cuomo, New York Public Service Commission Chairwoman Audrey Zibelman, New York Assembly Member Kevin Cahill, New York Senator John Bonasek, New York State DEC Acting Commissioner Basil Seagos, and Executive Deputy Commissioner Mark Kurtzman.
I'll second.
And I want to thank Jen for helping draft these documents. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Jen. I just supported yours, then these two guys jumped in. You mean that?
Roll call, Councilman Hughes.
Yes.
Councilwoman Axter.
Yes.
Councilman Krasowski.
Yes.
Councilman Ryan.
Yes.
Supervisor Wall. So I only send the resolution on Friday. What's
We
that?
have to send the letter.
The letter, yeah.
One letter, not
This
two letters,
letter.
just one letter to the, actually, but we also have to, you have to send it by email reply and also email. But yeah, you'll have to send it. Yeah.
We'll talk about it. We'll figure it out tomorrow, Andy. go up to number 2. Mary Lou can be here for that.
So I can fly the coop when you're done.
When you're fly the coop.
That's your son, yes,
Well, I can say that the ducks and chickens have lasted longer than me. They were here before me, and they'll be here after me. Quack, quack.
Do I know?
I'll be reading the papers to make sure we're getting any progress here.
So as Mary Lou said, we got together, individually in groups, and then again at the town board meeting, and pretty much came to a consensus of what we want in this local law. And then Mary Lou and I sat down this week to try to weed out and put in what we
Make sure we
discussed,
got everything.
including, we were waiting for the draft on the ducks, which John had gotten back to us. And some of you had some concerns still, but I want to know, whether we go forward tonight or whether, and vote on it.
No, we don't
next
vote
week.
on, right.
We vote on
Yes.
next week. If we decide that tonight that we are not happy with what we have drafted, then we have to put it off till next month, because you have to hold on to this. Board members have to have this for a week before we can vote on it. So, I did respond to some of the comments, and, my concern, especially to you, John, was that, the whole idea of having enclosures was to, you have your setbacks, and if you just say that the chickens are free in the yard, that kind of takes away that whole necessity. What we're, I think the spirit of the idea of enclosures is to keep the chickens or ducks in an area that's away from your neighbor's property.
Right.
Unofficially, that's only going to be an issue if
Right.
somebody complains about it.
Yeah,
You have to
absolutely.
have something for this code enforcement to work with, I think. is what it
Sure,
comes down
and
to.
after our back and forth, then I can see
You're
that.
okay on
Yep.
that? Okay.
Yep.
And then the issue about the drapes was, I guess I misunderstood when we talked. I thought we had said that if there was an issue, because I had said, I remember saying that I know that male geese are aggressive, and were drakes aggressive. And when you came back, you said they have, somewhere in your writing, you said that drakes are sometimes aggressive.
Occasionally. but,
So I think that was the
I
issue,
see.
if we needed to get,
I read it
if
as,
somebody had
oh,
an
we don't want
aggressive
them.
drake, you want to be able to say to the person, you have to get rid of that drake.
Right. Well, then I talked, after I saw the drakes were disallowed in there. So there were a couple of long roosters.
Right.
Then I talked to some local duck people, and I said, the drakes are the most humble.
Humble drake.
They're quieter than the hen ducks, and there's actually, there's a little bit of protection from first. The drakes will be a little bit more vigilant from hawks and stuff. But it seems that everything I've found, that people just have ducks and drakes in common groupings, and it's no problem. And there's absolutely no crowing.
So that was
3:31.
something, I was basing that on what I thought was
Right,
the
sure,
response
and
to what you
right, 'cause
were
I had it
looking
after
for,
you.
yeah.
But we could make that change.
We could,
Mhm.
we could make
You
it,
can
but
make
we
it,
have
but you
to
can't,
wait till
you have to wait till
January.
January to
So
vote.
it used
for
to be
that.
1 week.
It has to be, you ready for this? 7 days exclusive of Sundays. That's New York State Municipal
Right.
Home Rule law. You have to have it 8 days.
For a law.
For a law.
Right.
And the
Precise
substitute,
letter.
In
right,
the, in the
all
town board
substance
cans,
and,
so,
and now allowing a type of poultry, fowl, whatever. Let's look at our definition. That was not allowed before as a substantive change from what you guys have had in your hands, so that
Couldn't
would.
we just close it out by the new year, schedule just a quick special meeting?
we could.
I'm gonna tell you,
So we,
Is the
Bob
addition of
can
the
like.
Bob wants to be
Done-
part of this, he
done
wants the
with that.
chickens to be done
well,
before.
seriously, my two concerns that I have are not with the birds and which ones you mix, is the ones we only touched on. One, I'm thinking we're opening up Pandora's box, because I didn't realize New York State law says if a dog kills a chicken, the dog's gotta be put down. And there's a lot of dogs, the dog owners love their dogs. That's my first concern. The second concern I have, since I experienced it, when you have chickens, you have chicken feed. And no matter how you cut it and where you're located, it brings in rats. I live right close to the Postage Inn restaurant, and I knew as soon as I had 6 chickens, had feed, 2 rats. One was dead, one I killed.
How did you keep the feed?
I kept it inside the garage in a feed bag, and I would scoop it out with a can. Rats, like other animals, know how to sniff things out. So this is my concern. I mean, a lot of people, I remember putting them in metal garbage cans with lids on them, but still, the odor is very distinct with chicken feed. And where we're opening up the allowable chickens in our area, and I guess there's already chickens in Rosendale, I understand, on Main Street, I'm concerned when you have chickens and rodents with stores that are selling food, those are my concerns, not with the mixing of drinks and stuff. It's the second hand that I almost think is more of a priority.
Well, I think your points are well taken. I thought, my feeling is that I think we agree on all those issues, but I thought we were addressing them in this.
Right, we
One of
did.
the-
Right.
So the one
We
reason.
did make regulations.
We made a regulation that was one of the reasons that you don't have property. The chicken enclosure needs to be a certain distance from the property borders so that your neighbors will, up against the fence where a chicken is right there. I mean, it's
The metal
definitely.
containers make a huge difference.
Right,
And
If
then-
it-
Fasten
If the
medical.
food is kept in a fastened, because, I mean, we had this even just with bird seed, because rats are also attracted to this bird seed.
That's our
People
bears.
eat birds and bears. I've had them all. But the metal containers, like.
Can we find that line just so we can?
Yeah, it is, yep,
H3J.
Jay, all chicken and duck feed must be kept in metal containers, metal covers, and securely fastened covers. At all times to minimize infestation of rodents or problems with predators. So I think that we pretty much address that.
You know, I understand, and it's great how you're specific, but in the real world, addressing it and with proper actions that these people are gonna take, you know, is.
So this is the situation, Bob. If we don't pass a law that kind of puts these things in place, then people just do what they want to do, and they have no control. When the code enforcement officer, goes to a person's house, there's nothing they can do, they have no power. But at least if they have code in place, they can say, look, you can't have the chickens running free, you can't have the feed sitting in a feed bag on the side of the house. That's where the code enforcement officer can say, this has, you have violations here, and you have to put these things in place to be able to catch chickens. So, I totally understand your concern. The dog issue has been an issue with me right from the beginning, because I didn't see anybody lose a cat because of they neighbor has chickens. But I think we've put some decent setbacks in there, and I think we've also limited the number of chickens that a person can have in areas that are small, so that we don't have, and we've got a minimum of 50 feet,
The other, there was one other provision I'm looking for, so basically, when we were first drafting this law, and I met the building department about it, and, Dave had recommended referencing, and I'm really doing here, but basically that there's the state building code, which, they can go in if there's a complaint about
Yeah, if it's improperly taken care
pets, they can go in
Yes.
and require that it's addressed.
Even
And
if
it's
you
not
have a code
addressed.
that allows chickens, and the person is not taking care of them properly, they can shut down. But this also addresses it too, it says
Right.
that's
So,
and all that stuff.
yeah, but I think the point that's being made is like, really the critical point is that this is, that chicken ownership is pretty widespread now in Rosendale, and there's no code. We have nothing in place, for our code enforcement to really, make sure that chickens are kept in a sanitary condition and that people are protected.
I mean, if somebody has a dog and they say, look, my neighbor's chickens are always running loose, they have a legitimate complaint. I don't know, do we have any?
I may be wrong, But to me, my instincts are, there's gonna be issues on the horizon. And, you know, we've already discussed with our code enforcement officer, and they're already tied down with all the other tasks that they gotta do.
They wanted this stuff.
They want this.
They wanted
They
it.
Well,
all the time.
they needed something in order to enforce something, I
Right.
understand that. I still am back to the old school where you want chickens, it pertains, you can only have on agricultural property. It's simple as that, that's the way I feel. And, you know, like I said, if we already have chickens running around down the Main Street, Rosendale, and we have eateries for the public, I don't know. I mean, we put other things under the microscope that aren't as critical as this. With rodents coming in, you know, I'll go with majority because I have no option right now, but I just, in
Well,
my
I think
own
if you
mind.
look at Main Street, there aren't many properties on Main Street that can handle a 50-foot setback.
From a neighbor's house.
Right,
So they
Right.
would be
So they
allowed.
wouldn't be.
They would be
I
allowed.
think also there's just the issue that if we don't pass this, the people with chickens that have them illegally right now are still going to have them. It's not going to change if they're there. If
I
you
mean,
pass it,
yeah, this can always be amended down the
potential
road
for
if we're seeing we're having a
to a
problem.
safer
or
situation.
enforcement or something.
And
Yes,
that's
Frank?
personal.
The 50-foot right, you know, with that property, but I'm thinking there should be more footage if there's an eatery, or food distribution.
Well, unfortunately, Jack, we had a public hearing
I was
for
gonna say, yeah,
everybody
we
to
can't
bring
really
this
say
up. We
we're
really
public
can't talk
comment
about
on
public
it.
comments.
Right.
And this is
Yeah.
for, I mean, this is for residential districts. This is
Yeah, well, I'm just
not
saying,
for
saying
the
like Main
business
Street,
district.
somebody's got chickens.
Yeah,
out
but,
there.
but it's not in the B, it's not in the B
Right, this is
three
R1,
portion,
R2,
or B
R3,
two
A1.
portion of, or is that B one? Whatever the B, it's not in the B district on
They're
Main
not-
Street, it's
it's
in the
not allowed.
residential. So,
That's the
I mean,
All right,
same thing with,
so-
you know,
All right, well, Jack, we can't talk to the public about this.
just one other, to go back to, this is more, I know what your intent was, but it's the language.
Okay.
Is the, I had.
Which one?
Where's the manure one?
Site.
It's somewhere in-
Off-site.
Yeah, so the last sentence says manure cannot be composted or used off.
Site.
But it can be what your intent, I think, is to say is that the manure composted on the premises cannot be used
Oh, so,
off-site.
all right, change it to composted. Okay.
You know
I
what
see
I'm
you're
saying?
Where, which one are you on?
It's
I.
the last sentence. The manure composted on the premises cannot be used off-site. That's
Oh, you want to put the
Clear.
word compost?
Manure
It's sort of
composted
a typo.
on the
you know,
premises cannot be off-site. Mhm.
I have one question in regards to the metal enclosure for food. There was a comment during the public hearing, there were more than one comment, I believe, in regards to that it should also be stored inside. Did we not decide that the feed needed to be kept in metal locked inside the building? It wasn't
I
clear
mean,
from my
we could
notes.
keep going and say it needs to be in a bunker underground, but at some point you gotta stop and just say.
It was unclear in my notes whether that was part of what we had come to consensus on or not.
Right, I remember that, and it was actually a chicken person saying that was a better practice.
Keep it inside.
A lockdown lid inside was better than
Do we,
just
John?
building or just.
Things are gonna be making changes.
I don't want to-
Yeah,
But I don't know if it
next
needs
week.
to be.
I'm not saying that, I don't need it added, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't something that was supposed to.
Hey, you know, the first time a raccoon comes along and opens up, they're gonna put it inside.
Right, but I mean, we can say that it has to be kept in the duck house or the,
Or
you
in a
know,
sheltered
or the,
place or something.
Yeah, I mean, you can't keep it in.
I was gonna say they're gonna.
Yeah.
Chickens and chicken
Well, there's
feed.
just no room. It's
It's
gonna
gonna be
be
a happy raccoon.
Well, at this
A
point,
feed.
let me just ask
Yeah.
this. At this point, that change that Jen asked for, is that a substantive change?
It's a clarification, it's not changing what the law is.
That's not gonna
Right.
make us,
To me, it was just like a
Right.
giant typo.
What
Yeah.
if
but,
we-
you know, Bob has an issue, Chris has an issue about the indoor.
I don't, I'm not gonna push that, it was just, I brought it up because it was unclear in my notes,
Yeah.
whether or not we wanted it.
I think it might have been an oversight on our part to not include it, but,
think it's fine to have a law and then a sort of best practices issued or a sheet. of best
We are gonna,
practices.
it's in here that there's gonna be guidelines to
Right.
hand out.
So that could be in the guidelines.
But then if, if somebody's speed is causing a problem, like Bob's saying, there won't be any way for them to enforce, you need to get the feet away from that location. You can't leave your feet out there because it's throwing rats. I can see that issue. So,
Well, we have to add breaks, right? So why don't we add
well, we don't have to, we can. So is that what everybody wants to do? Change the Drake issue? If we're changing the Drake issue, then we're gonna be.
Right, then we're gonna be having
gonna
another
have to-
meeting sometime.
So why don't we just add the enclosure, that J, what's, why don't we just say inside?
Yes.
And just after covers, and fasten covers, put inside, indoors.
Indoors, I thought.
Indoors, yes. And that's, they can keep in their garage, their house, wherever they choose. And then, where is the Drake's
So
issue?
the Drakes are
That's
Where, is it where
Yeah.
no roosters, is it the
Yeah.
same place?
Yeah.
chickens.
top of the section.
So then we're gonna put only female chickens or hens, and then ducks and drakes.
Wait a minute,
Or
wait a
just
minute.
I don't want anyone thinking that we're excluding drakes by
well-
putting female as the first word.
Oh,
I'm confused, wait a minute, where are you?
Look at 3A on
Yeah.
page 1,
Yeah, only female chickens or hens and ducks may be kept.
and drakes, if we're changing it.
So
Because
they-
I don't want somebody
Oh,
to say we're
yeah,
saying
yeah.
only female ducks,
oh,
and that therefore
That's where it
excludes
gets
drakes.
confusing, yeah.
And then we'll
Only
just put the
female
keeping
chickens
of
or hens.
roosters, and then the other type of poultry or
Okay, so then where's the part where it says you can't keep roosters?
right now.
it's the next sentence in that. same-
Oh, yes, roosters, and we're just gonna cross Drake's out. Well, I would say that
I was
was a
gonna say, why
typo.
don't we just-
That was a
That
typo.
was a
Drake's
typo.
was supposed to be over here.
Yep.
No. I have a license I'd like to hold on to for a few more years. Kids are still in
I
college.
tried, I tried. That's a typo.
No, that's not a typo.
So
we-
Okay.
all right, let's not rewrite the book, okay?
Can we schedule a meeting next week?
Yes. No, we have to,
Or in 8 days or?
problem
Well, you
is,
have to,
has to be announced, published,
it
and
has
all
to be
that
announced,
stuff.
you have to have to say days, and I want you to know that I'm going on vacation next Thursday. I purposely waited till Thursday so I could be here for Wednesday's meeting.
Well, you don't have to be.
I was gonna say, right,
Yeah.
well,
But we
but-
can't make any more changes
It's,
then.
I mean, I think it will be hard to do next week, you could probably do it the following week.
That's fine, just so long as it's.
I mean, I won't be here for that either, because I'm not just going 2 days.
I don't have
but-
my calendar. Jill, do you have the calendar in front of you?
So Monday is the 14th.
Do we, what do you guys, what kind of time works for you guys?
You going away?
Yeah, that's good.
A Monday
I
is
know you
great.
got work, you
Evening
got
works
work.
better
Do
for
we
me.
want to just try to get something for the three of us when we're done?
I was gonna say,
So you guys are, okay.
Do we have anything we have to overrule on the county? I don't think we
No.
did, because then you'd need a supermajority, but I don't think you did, right?
On the chickens?
No,
Yeah, we didn't
we
have any.
met,
Right.
we made the changes they wanted.
Right, we did, right? Okay.
What, Monday, the 14th you're looking at?
Yeah, what's going on then?
You can do 2 o'clock.
We have a PBA meeting at 10.
Oh, T10, so we could do 2.
You can do 2.
It'd be great if we could do it right after.
We don't know how many hours it's gonna take.
Yeah, to
Oh.
notice it, yeah.
So what day are you talking about?
14th.
The 14th.
Okay.
Okay, so 2.
Are you guys okay with not attending that meeting?
14 is
Of
what day?
December?
Or do you want to do
It's
3?
Monday.
And then what time are you looking at? I might be able to swing that.
Or you can do
Yeah, in
3.
the afternoon.
I mean, You have 2 and 3 and 4 open, so you have the rest of the afternoon open.
Yeah, we can make it look at 3 if you guys want to.
2 is better.
Tuesday?
Well, 3 is better for them, 2 is better for you. I mean, we're trying to, how about 2:30?
Okay.
Do I hear?
Okay.
So is this like a meeting? This is a meeting, just like one.
So
Yeah, so
Mary
you're
Lou,
gonna have to notify that there's going to be a special meeting on that date and time in this place.
All right.
Mary Lou,
Yes.
just, so that we can make sure that everything is done in time to meet dates.
And actually, it's
Can we
a
make-
species of
Here's your
Sunday.
document, now we've been handed the document changes, okay?
Right,
Just made them,
just,
right?
you know, but she has to have them in the final, or are we good? No,
I
I think
mean-
we have to see the final copy, more than 8 days.
Make it right now.
And
She's
it's-
gonna fix it.
Well,
for
and don't
us.
forget, it's exclusive of Sundays, so I would have to have it to you by Friday, really.
Right, okay. Okay.
So,
Okay,
Yeah, but I can do that, I'd have to have it because we have to do something. Yeah.
okay.
all right,
Yeah,
so,
we changed. The
so
nosy one.
let's just be clear, this is what we're changing. On page 2, on 3A, the word ducks and drakes, we'll say ducks and drakes may be kept. And the word drakes will be removed after the word rooster, correct? On I, we will add on the last sentence, manure composted on the premises cannot be composted or used off
No,
site.
no, not,
That's what you said?
No,
No.
composted on the premises cannot be used off-site.
Take out,
All right, that's not what you said before, okay, manure composted on the premises.
Cannot be used off-site.
Oh, I see, the compost is in the wrong place, that looks like a typo.
that's what it
We
says.
said we'd give that one a typo, we're not giving you Drake's a typo though.
Okay, and on page 3, J, we're gonna add after the word, on the second line, fasten covers indoors.
Okay. All chicken and ducks must be kept in metal containers, metal covers. Okay,
Securely
with metal-
fastened covers indoors, comma, indoors.
You know who we should have the liaison for this? Old McDonald had a farm.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, you good? All right,
All right, also, you know, before the meeting, you'll have to do the seeker that night,
well,
which I, you know, I can prepare, but
Oh,
I'll have to do
I
seeker
wanna-
on it because you can't pass the,
We have to do speaker on this.
yeah. Yeah.
yep, so that'll be for the 14th, for our special meeting.
Oh, right.
Right, you'll do that.
14th,
We'll do that
2:00.
before you.
2:30.
2:30.
Right? I like doing
There you go. I think they
that. Hey, listen,
understand
if I
that.
gotta be there, you gotta be there. Donuts or no donuts.
No, I think that was directed towards me.
They will.
I know. All right,
Can I do
all right, what,
another question? So, I was looking at my speaker for the October thing,
yeah.
and do we have to, I see there's a clock, like, a clock for the media agency and a determination. So when do we have to make the
I have to tell
determination?
you that.
We just made
No,
it.
you just, you made it.
We made a
You're
determination.
not making
Oh,
a
I'm sorry,
determination,
on the
the
Tilson,
agency will.
on the Tilson.
Now, on Tilson, we don't have final yet because they're going to be getting us traffic reports and all sorts of
Okay, so
reports.
there's no clock now?
No, and you know what,
between-
20 days is in there, the courts say that's a suggestion.
Oh, okay. All right, that's good.
Okay, and they
Okay.
will waive anything anyway,
Okay.
because, in speaking with their
I just
attorney,
didn't want to
he
see
expects it's
violating
going, gonna be a few months before we make a secret determination, and only after that can we make a determination.
Okay, good.
So, yeah, no, we're
So that we're not,
fine.
I
We're
was
not
like, do
under-
we have to do this next week?
No, no,
All
no,
right.
We're good.
we're fine.
All
Okay?
right.
But he was just whispering the same question.
We're on the same-
If that was appropriate.
Is this in regards to the road in the school?
No, it's part of the secret process.
Secret process, all the environmental impact.
There are steps you have to, you're required to take in that process, and there are times.
No, I understand. I just want to make sure I was on the same.
Okay, so, the next thing we have on. Are we done with you?
Street
Thank
lights.
you very much.
Can we do it?
Don't wanna know about that.
Street lights? Do you mind if I
Yes,
talk
yes.
about them?
So Jen's gonna, bring up a few things having to do with the street lights. As you know, we had discussed, and before some of you have been on the board, there was a plan to decommission the lights. I think we actually did a resolution back then, I was thinking about it, but I think we'll take action again, just to be clear, to decommission a bunch of lights. There was waiting for police, fire department feedback, and recently Jen and I had discussed the fact that Central Hudson is looking to, do a program for upgrading street lights to LED, and I would like to see action taken on decommissioning before they start their program. A lot of that has to do with the fact that we're talking about stranded costs, and we don't want to be in the middle of that mess when
Right.
we're decommissioning.
So basically, right, so when you upgrade the LEDs, they charge whatever the undepreciated value is left on the existing lights. And they come up with a value for that. But we know that they have, for other towns that have decommissioned some lights, they just come and they take them away. They're charged for it. And the Environmental Commission, when it did its assessment in 2013, it came up with a list, and we had it all verified. And I've also just been driving around to re-verify these lights. But
Can I just ask, did you get a
Yeah.
chance to talk to the police department on the ones you had a couple
Well,
of questions?
I was about to say that. So sometime in the next couple of days, there are a few additional lights that I'm going to drive with Sergeant Shabrick to take a look at to see if we can decommission. But it'll be somewhere between 23 and 27 lights that we're looking at decommissioning. And next week,
We'll finalize it, we'd like to do the resolution.
yeah, we'd like to do a resolution to do it, and hopefully I'll have some time, and I can let everyone know what the savings would be from decommissioning those lights, but, that's, it's a big savings to the town, it's a major cost for the town. So we'll take that action next week. Did everyone get the list?
Yes.
Is it in the back?
Any chance of looking into getting to where everybody pays the same amount, not by
Yeah.
the quality of your house?
Well, okay, why don't you bring that up in 1 second? I just want to talk about one other thing. There is this company called Computel that does audits. They do audits of lots of things for towns, but they do audits of municipal streetlights. They go back and look at all the original agreements for street lighting with Central Hudson. They look at all of your back bills. They look at everything. They verify what you have in the field. And they get you refunds if you've been overbilled. And this company, the city of Kingston, had Computel come do an audit for them, and it saved the city of Kingston $40,000. Now, the city of Kingston has thousands of lights, we only have 200, but there's still potential, or a little under 200, there's still potential savings there. And they did audits for municipalities in Westchester and found about refunds and everything. So that's a different utility in Westchester, but definitely worthwhile. What they do is they don't charge, they take a percentage of the refund. So they would take, their percentage for doing this audit is 40% of the refund. But it's money you would not otherwise
Yeah,
get
but
if
you
you
know-
didn't do the audit. So,
You know what, though, once again, we're comparing apples and oranges. Kingston and down the line, we got 200 lights. These companies aren't doing things for nothing. You come in here, have them do an audit, and next thing you know, you're paying out more money than you're saving.
no, you're not listening. Sorry. We don't pay anything out of pocket for this, nothing. If we have been overbilled, if they determine that we've been overbilled through their analysis of all of this paperwork and information from the utility that we as a town are not going to do, then if they have evidence of overbilling, they get us a refund, and they're paid by taking a percentage of the refund. So we never have anything out of pocket. We don't pay them anything.
Oh, man, that's a no-brainer.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So, right. So
Sign them up.
Can I just ask a question about that, because,
I did call them today,
Yeah.
and they said that basically they could do this fairly quickly, given that we have a couple hundred lights, and they also said, I said that we wanted to move forward on the decommissioning, and they said, even if you do that next week, it's still going to take Central Hudson a little while.
so they would be able to still
So
audit those lights?
they think it's likely, if we did a contract with them next week, they think it's pretty likely that Central Hudson's not going to come and take them out instantly, and they'll still be able to verify.
Okay.
So.
The only thing I'm curious about is, last time we did something with them was for the Time Warner,
Yeah.
for the cable. And it was determined that it would be too difficult to get the funds from them. So how do we know that if we do this audit, that they can actually get Central Hudson to comply? Because they weren't
Well,
able to
they-
get Time Warner
They
cable to
apparently
comply.
did, but they, so, that's,
Did
I
you
mean, that's
find
the
out if
only
Kingston
example I
actually
have.
got the money, did they get the credit or whatever it is?
I think so. I talked to Steve Noble, and he was really excited by what they had done for them. So, I think, I don't know
I mean, it's not
anything
gonna
about
hurt us
them.
to have it
It's not
found
gonna
out.
hurt us either
But I
way.
don't know, I mean, I did, a lot of time and energy went into the other, I thought that might be, but I could be wrong.
Well, there's
But
no
there's
time.
no money collected. There was no money collected
Right.
because it was too difficult to get them to comply. So I wonder how they, if they do this on a regular basis, there must be some
It
process.
sounds too
Right.
good to be true, that's what it smells
Well,
like.
it's not, this is just a consultant service, and they have a way of doing it, and they make their money off of, as I said, from the refunds. And, I can tell you exactly what information they collect from the town, so.
Yes, Jack?
On our lighting district, in the old village, it's 27,000. And I know certain lights are out for months at a time. We paid that 27,000 because my idea would be to only give them 20.
Well,
Because they're
right.
charging us for these lights, and if they're not on, why
Right.
are we paying?
The problem with that is something they cannot do, because, if the lights are out and they go unreported, you have to prove that they've been reported and not fixed. So,
Well,
if
actually-
you've made a call on a certain day and they have not responded, then there's potentially a way to
One of
prove
the
that.
problems with them is because when you call them, you don't get anybody that represents the streetlights for Rosendale. You get Mrs. Mary. or
Well, you know what, I like
It
to,
takes you hours to get to touch to somebody. Oh, we'll leave a notice for the next case.
you know what, I want to chime in on this since I took this bull by the horns
I
2 or
remember
3
when
years
you
ago.
called them.
And I gotta say, I dealt with Bill Cotting, and every time it was Billy Ligon, and I drove around, we spotted some. As soon as I let Bill Cotting know, that light was done just like that. They were
He's
very.
retired
I know he is, but well, I'm saying that.
Unfortunately, we don't
I
have
know,
him
but
to
the
call.
problem was before you, and I called, and I went to Central Hudson, I didn't get
Yeah,
so-and-so.
Jack, let's just,
Yeah.
we know that it's a problem, Jack, I
Right.
recognize.
But
You're
this
right.
is-
They don't always respond.
And
And I'm
this is-
sure Bill's gonna say the same thing, right?
I've contacted them 3 months ago and every 2 weeks since on certain lights with pole numbers. Right on Mountain Road, 3 in a row, and they don't respond. I can't get the light fixed in front of the firehouse.
You give me the light in the light pole
You better ask
I
him
told
about
them.
that.
number, that's what I need, and
There was
I
one-
promise you, I'll take care of it.
So
I've got first
their
names.
problem
All right,
is that
so,
we're
so
paying-
let's not call now, okay?
I called
Because I don't wanna pay for lights
Okay.
if we're gonna decommission them,
Right.
okay?
Yeah, don't get lights, we're
But like
taking
Jack
out
said,
those
we already
numbers.
paid $27,000.
Right.
I know, I
Yeah,
understand
so
what you're
the
saying, but
problem is documenting that. So what this company does is they look and see, there are sometimes, and I'll tell you, there might be the case in Rosendale and Creek Walk, there is a pole number that we are billed for, and I can't find the pole. So,
Pole came
if-
down years ago, nobody knows
so
what
if
happened. Just keep
there
waiting for
are,
it.
often there are lights on the books, that, on Central Hudson's books, that towns just pay for, that they don't actually have anymore.
Well,
And so,
my only
then you
suggestion
get
would-
that money back, or, which they often, just to finish this, the other thing is lights are changed, they're upgraded, and that's not always recorded, and or they get the wrong size lights, because there's all these different lights. So that's what they look for. They look for inaccuracies in inventories, and then what you've been billed, and they can only do it back 6 years. They can't do it, because there's a statute of limitations on how far you can go back, but,
Again, my only suggestion is that we're billed for $27,000 for this district, the whole township is $54,000 something, right? But at the same time, if they're gonna give us a hard time about this, Central Hudson, then you turn around and say, all right, this light was out, this light was out, this was out, you're not getting the $54,000, we're only gonna give you $34,000. And they'll kind of pay attention, if they're not gonna get their money.
Yeah.
well,
Well, we don't have that choice.
optimal,
Would be nice.
this is why, this is one of the many reasons why we will be looking into upgrading to our LEDs that are either municipally owned or company owned, but if they're town owned, you're not a slave to Central
Well,
Hudson
either
in that
one,
department.
because LED lights will last for years.
Well, that's the other thing, is LEDs
Well, I
don't
guess
need.
Even
the
if it's a
critical-
Central
The
Hudson.
critical topic for Billy Moylan's is, the lights he's concerned about, are they detrimental for our firemen, our policemen, our first responders?
We already had the lights evaluated that we're decommissioning, and 2 of them, I mentioned that to you already, 2 of them are on Mountain Road, because they're down the road, it's a rural road with a lot of pedestrians.
I don't think there's any past Burris Crossing, is there?
There is,
I would go that way at night.
yeah.
I mean,
Way
I think,
down.
But from-
I think we tried to look at lights that either, typically you wouldn't, you don't need lights on some back roads. You don't need lights on a dead end where there's no houses. There's some lights that just have been, who knows why they put a light there. It doesn't seem like there's any reason some.
Right. I mean, most roads in town don't have streetlights.
Right.
It's where the
like a
pedestrian
vestige
traffic
of-
is the only place
Right.
you really need lights, is when people are
Well, I
walking.
mean, if they're there, we're paying for them, that's my complaint.
Right, exactly,
No, so
that
your
we
complaint-
totally understand, and
Right.
that's Jack's complaint too, and that's all of our complaints.
So if we,
yeah.
and one of the reasons those lights stay dark for so long is because most people aren't really saying, hey, I'm calling and saying, I'm walking on that road every day and I can't see at night, because nobody misses it because they don't need them. So if we can determine, and part of the survey that was done by the Environmental Commission was knocking on doors in each of those, by each of those lights that we're looking at decommissioning, saying, do you care if that light's there? And most of them were like, no, we don't care. That's why they got on this list, because people didn't care if they were decommissioned. So we know that we're gonna save some money by getting rid of them to begin with, so.
And just one other reason to do the audit is that when we do upgrade to LEDs, you don't want to, if we're already paying for a light, if there's a light on the books that's a very high wattage, that's incorrect, and it's upgraded to an incorrect high wattage light, then we're just perpetuating an overbilling problem. So you want to get that addressed before you do any upgrades. So that's the other reason. So,
Can you tell me again how you compiled the draft list?
so the Environmental Commission they researched, there were a couple of documents, there was like a nice sort of guidance document on street lighting and where you need them and where you don't. We assembled the criteria and developed a field survey sheet. Jack and we had a bunch of volunteers. Jack participated.
Yeah, I went around the whole neighborhood.
And, went around and with the field survey sheet, went during the day first to check the pole number, the location, make sure that was all accurate with the light. And then went back at night, but surveyed the area to see is the light at an intersection, is the light on a sharp curve or a blind spot, is it in an area, is it in a business district, is it a place with a lot of pedestrian traffic? And if it's just like a rural, dark road that, you have to keep in mind.
Headlights are supposed to take care of
Right.
that,
It's like, we live in a rural town.
Right.
So unless there's a real justification for doing it, purpose for having a place where pedestrians and cyclists commonly, stroll. You want to keep your light.
But one of the most important things to me is that the fact that you have one street light right out in front of my house, and the 4 houses around it all pay a different price. The same street light. They go by the value of your house.
Right.
That's
now-
an assessment issue, and we don't have, that's just probably the standard way that it's
Yeah,
evaluated.
well, I'm just saying that there's a way of maybe justifying that we all pay the same price. We're all using the same light. Why should I pay $60? My mom's house is only,
Yeah, but all
one-third of
your
mine, she only pays 20.
taxes are done by your assessment.
That's
All your
another, that's
taxes.
another
But
topic.
that's
Yeah,
the-
we're not gonna get into that today.
Right.
But
We
I'm
can
just-
talk about that another
Right.
time.
All right, but I'm
Although
just saying,
again,
I was told
if
that
the-
the county justifies that price range.
You know, it doesn't
Somebody
matter,
gotta talk to
that
them.
all costs on your taxes are based on assessment. So whatever category it is, it's still assessment, it's assessment.
I'll tell you that if it switches to municipally owned lights, it can be done.
Well, we're not at that point yet. but-
No.
As long as this doesn't
So-
compromise the safety of our firemen and our policemen,
Well, that's
and
why
they
we
were,
asked them
they
to
were
review
involved
them.
in this,
Right.
that's all.
Everyone was asked to review that, and the highway department reviewed it, they all.
That way,
this
Lisa, I don't know if the
whole
fire
list was
department-
signed off.
You signed off.
I just want to make a couple points. 9, from first crossing the Cottington Road, 9 lights out. I passed, just coming from my house to here, 9 lights out, that's a lot. And the other thing I want to ask is the town communicated with Central Hudson, tell them not to fix the lights?
Yes.
You've told them not to fix the
No,
lights?
no, we
No.
have not done that.
Because
No.
I called so many times.
Yeah,
I've got
no,
the
no.
No,
foreman's
they're
name.
just not doing it.
They're not doing it because they know they're gonna
have-
upgrade to LED.
Yeah.
Who's paying for the upgrade of the LED? Is that something we're
They're
going to
gonna
get?
pay for the upgrade, but we have to pay the stranded cost of lights that are existing that still have
It's
value.
actually, we pay for the upgrade. We pay
We're
for
gonna have to wait
all.
for any
Yeah, we pay
grants.
for it
Rates.
all when you look at its
Yeah,
business.
that's
It's gonna be
what-
done-
well, no,
It's
but
going to
the
be done early
rate-
next year?
You're not gonna
Or-
get charged by, oh, we're fixing your light, we're changing your light, so you get a bill. But what we will get a bill for is what the remaining value of the lights are taken down. That's why I wanna decommission all the lights before they start that program, because we don't wanna pay for them for stranded value.
Did I see a time frame window when this will happen?
We're gonna
So-
vote on it next week.
Well, that's for the decommissioning and the upgrades,
They
I
wanna
mean,
start it in January, but the
my-
towns, some of the
Because it's like
towns,
a sore spot with me now,
Rosendale
but I don't
is-
get response after 3 months of
Well,
calling.
you know what, 9 lights out, and like I initially mentioned, compromising the safety of our police and firemen. I don't know, I
But
think
you know,
something
the
should be done.
Look, the 9 lights he's talking about are lights that we want to get rid of, because the
Right.
reason they're dark, you've called about them, but there's not been an outcry. You're calling because you're saying, we're paying for them, and we don't want to pay for something that we're not getting. But what's happened is, there's a lot of lights that stay dark, and nobody notices them because they're not missing the
They're-
light. You
they're
know,
all
they
over
don't
the
care if
place.
there's a light there, so they don't
I mean,
notice
like,
it.
you got 2 at the end of Main Street, down by the mobile station, you got one out. You got one right by the pizza store, right on 32.
I wasn't
And
aware of
people
any
see
of
that.
those.
Yeah, but maybe.
That, the
maybe-
one by the pizza store has been out forever. And that's actually one that we're doing, because no, it's so
Nobody
lit
cared.
there, it's so lit up.
It's not lit at 3 o'clock in the morning. All the store lights are out. It's lit up until 11 o'clock when the store's closed.
You know, the bottom line is, if we're paying right now a flat fee of $27,000 a year, all the lights should be lit, all the ones that are out should be lit.
There's no
Cut and dry.
question, there's no question.
So, I don't know why, if somebody had let me know, I would have got back on the bandwagon, because, and I've said that at a public
Well,
council
if you
meeting,
do this,
to let me
do
know.
not write up the ones we're about to take out of service.
That's right.
Because next week, we're requesting that Central Hudson take
Well,
these
you
lines
know-
out of service. So this is what you could do, after the request is in, then you can ask.
I just hope
And then
Murphy's
it's
Law
an
doesn't
overall.
kick in, and any of these critical lights, God forbid there be a house fire or something like that, where they couldn't be essential, because they're waiting on LEDs. Because I know what weight is like, weight is weight.
Right,
No,
well,
no,
Bob,
no,
what
no,
you
let
can
me
do, the ones that are being decommissioned are not essential. That's already been decided by all of the emergency services and everything. If you wanna look at that list,
That's why we got the list
And
for us
then-
to look at.
If we're paying still a flat rate of $27,000, why should we not say nothing because they're going to LED? Why should we not
It's
say?
not about the going to LED, it's because we don't wanna pay for the lights that we're asking them to take them down. We don't care if you ask them to fix the lights that are out, that are not on this list.
It's just the
The ones on this list, we don't want, we're
decommissioning.
gonna decommission.
You
We don't
can-
want them to pay, put the new light in and then say, well, now you're gonna have to pay the difference
Right.
of that,
So
of
you
that
can look
value.
at that list, and the ones that are not on the list that are out, which are probably
Can I get a list?
a
of that
lot of
sometime?
lights, you can
Well,
call
Jen,
in.
Jen,
The fire
hold on.
department was given
You
a
were
list,
wor-
but
you
we'll
were
give
working with
another
Central
copy.
We can't
Hudson.
fix the light in front of the firehouse.
This was your project. Do you know what lights are out that should be on that are gonna stay? If so, did you contact Central Hudson?
I don't drive around and monitor every
neither do
light in town. This is,
My
people, when people have lights out, they call.
I did.
All right. Okay, that's
I
great.
drove around.
And as Jack knows, I call in whenever he tells me there's a
If
light
I see
out.
one, I always call, I
So,
give it a number.
but,
call.
you know, I can't spend my time driving around every night to see if there's a light out. Those are the lights for decommissioning. And Billy, I'll give you a copy of the list. And
But
then
Jen-
if there, but you should also write down the date that you called. And if you
I-
can
I have
remember,
Keep it documented.
I
because,
have, but I didn't report every light in town, I reported 3 lights on Mountain Road
You know,
at the
that's the
firehouse.
kind of thing I think that maybe we're talking about this audit, you know,
right, we
wouldn't hurt
should
to
be
s-
able, if, like, you know when you called, I feel like we should be
I have
refunded
dates,
for
I have the
the
dates I called
time.
and I have the first names of the person I talked to.
Well, that's great.
Mhm.
So, okay, so if you can get us that information, and Jack, if you can remember when you,
Well, the one thing I would like to see done is when we get talking to Central Hudson or whoever else, that we get someone who represents them for the town of Rosendale, so we can all call the same person.
I
You
never
know,
had
right now
any
you
of this
call,
problem, I
and
can
I
honestly
get
say.
you, when
It's
you
a new
tell me now,
company.
and I'll let them know in the morning.
I made a call and it
Let
was
Bob
done
do
next
the
day.
call, he gets results.
I did it. But Jen, if you're aware that there's some lights out down at Food Center, you just mentioned that you're aware that there's a couple lights out down there.
no, there's one light there that we're decommissioning.
But you mentioned there's a couple down by Sunoco that are out. You mentioned it
Pizza.
before.
I didn't, he did.
Pizza store.
Pizza store.
That was Bill, he's been calling.
I don't know,
He's
I
not getting
don't know, I never had a problem with Central Hudson. I got it laid out, I needed it fixed, and it was done within
But you've
24
got
hours.
the advantage because you know this guy, but the rest of us don't. And that's it, if there's a phone number that's a Central Hudson,
But I'll tell you
you
what
dial
they,
1, 2, 3, 4, and that's the guy that
what they
represents
used to
Rosendale.
do, what the company used to do, their policy, they had a maintenance policy, where they used to, listen, they
No,
used to
listen,
go
Fee,
around.
I deal with them all the time, I work at a
All right,
prison.
you know what, this is just getting out of hand.
She works
Let's
for the
just
chicken.
Forget
No,
about that. The what-ifs don't matter, okay? Let's just work on what we're gonna do, okay?
Go to Dollar General, get a
So-
flashlight.
Next week, we will have a final list, and we'll do a resolution to, I guess, authorize you to, provide this list to Central Hudson. And, we can also, we have do a contract next week too with Alcatel.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Okay, great.
Yeah, I guess, one other thing that.
Let me just finish what I'm doing. What I would like to do is ask a couple of questions. Well, first of all, I would just encourage all the town board members to really look at this list and see, just to make sure nothing slips through the cracks.
Yeah.
Because, once you ask for them to be decommissioned, that's it. They're not getting them back.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of study by the Environmental Commission and the police and fire and highway. But I want to make sure you board members are comfortable with the ones we're getting rid of. And,
And feel free to go look at them.
you should take a look at what we're looking at and see if you have any issues with them. I mean, this is a decent number of lights, if we have to take one or two off the list,
That's okay.
I'd rather do that than have them be regrets that we did it. I do notice a couple of things I see by like the restaurant, Postage Inn. Yeah, I don't, I'm assuming that was probably because that used to be the post office at some point, maybe that was
Yeah,
why it was there.
like Paul, they had that's taken out because it's not street lighting, their parking lot lighting.
Is
Wait.
it in the parking lot itself? Yeah.
Well, you know what, I'm gonna tell you something right there, now that's a good one that you pointed out, because I've gotten tons of call, and I don't know where the law is and stuff, between how close that fence is with the Postage Inn or to the highway, and I guess there's been people that wanted a traffic light there for years, and it hasn't happened, and me living right there, there's an awful lot of accidents happen there. So I would suggest that a light stays there. You think it might be for the parking lot, but since